decade, it seems, with line replacement et al., which was a part of the discussion. They're looking for what might be a better area for their meter and valve setup than in that area. I had originally intended to meet with Gabe to just see where stakes were going to go and what we were talking about. It turned into a meeting with other Semco employees and Tony Giulio, who happened to be in the area and provided meaningful input. But it was a preliminary meeting with information to follow. I had had a conversation with Mr. Janke and briefly with others about this issue and told Gabe that I'm treating this as a preliminary meeting. There are others from the township board that would like to participate, but they in effect said, we're going back to the drawing board. And what we had originally suggested to you in earlier correspondence and whatever is probably not the option that we're going to pursue. So we're sort of in a holding pattern right now. They know that the board would like to hear from them. An invitation has been extended or certainly implied during our conversation. But when next we speak, if they are identifying other places than this or want to pursue the site originally chosen with vigor, I would suggest the meeting then that Mr. Janke and I discussed and others in the office have discussed, if not a full board meeting, to go over the particulars with him. But right now, I think they're looking at other options that might be better suited than the one off of Cedar Street. They would have to come down Airport Road, go through the Ward's property, go through part of the Dotto.
So that's not Ward's property, even though he's using it like it's his.
Yeah, well, they identified it as the Ward's property.
Yeah,
So,
but it's not.
okay, more information.
There is an easement through there, that's why there's a curb cut right there.
Yeah,
That's not Ward's, so.
That's Fifth Street, that's platted.
yeah,
correct.
that,
Fifth Street is
Oh, it's there.
well, the original discussion is that.
My concern is that I continue to watch Ward basically treat it like it's his. And, I'm not sure that we want to give, like, for instance, the gas company, that's why we keep those type of easements, is so those can be used, that platted area, so those can be used for utilities such as that. And, anyway, so there should be no saying it's going through Ward's property, that's not the correct, I guess is what I'm saying, it's not Ward's. And they don't have to ask Ward for permission.
I think they were simply using that as an identifier.
Okay.
But with the correction and with Christa's work, drawing up a map and a subsequent phone call to Gabe, they had left the area, and he said, we're seriously considering other options. I said, please, we need to talk, keep us in the loop, there's interest out in the board, and he agreed that he would. So I expect to hear from him before the end of the month. And we will set up a meeting or invite him to one of our meetings to talk about it to whatever level is necessary. So we're satisfied with what's transpiring and how they intend to go forward. But it is much broader than just putting in, a valve and a meter station. That would be temporary too, by the way. They're talking about larger lines, dropping, bringing in higher pressure lines and all kinds of stuff. We're looking at a decades-long project in and around Bower Bay.
Just FYI, that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They're running a 6-inch and it's gonna be 60 pounds
Yeah.
versus 10.
Thank you,
They'll
Bill.
be going down.
That's what's coming down them 26 there, or what?
Yeah, and they'll be going, they plan on going down to Main Street and across the channel over to the park like, and they're gonna
They're gonna feed some of those
eventually
people?
feeding up on top of the hill and north,
Okay.
what you call it, north end up there.
It's quite extensive. Thank you, Bob, for the extra detail.
So they wanna put a station in like, up on top of Airport? You know, the one that's up by Airport Hill, or is it not quite that big?
No, they're
That's a main
running,
line up there,
see,
obviously.
they're running the 6-inch up to there because it's only 10 pounds coming down.
And that,
It's
that
not
one,
adequate.
that one that comes down, there's a station halfway up Airport Hill.
Yeah.
They're gonna come down from that one, and
Yeah,
they're not gonna
they've
tap
already
in.
done.
They're not tapping in over the one by, or did they come down their easement with a whole separate line? Is that what they did? Oh,
It's gonna be a 60 pound,
yeah.
6-inch.
I mean, they got their big, what is that, a 12-inch main or something that comes right down?
No, don't think there's anything that big.
It's pretty big. The one that comes down, and goes under the canal and stuff, it's a pretty big line.
Huh? You lost me there.
That gas line that goes,
There's no gas line across there.
yeah, but they're coming down M26 from there.
From N 26 down, Main Street, and they're gonna
Over
boat
by,
across.
over by, Z, I call him Z, but he used to be the guy for, he works for Port of Sewer Authority now. He just built that house over there, down by the lake, past Cold Dock Road.
Oh,
Center.
oh,
Zenner, that's the name, thank you.
yeah,
Right by Zenner's place there, there's a big, that's the main that comes down there. And they were coming from over that direction, I didn't know, you know,
yeah.
then, so. And then they
That's
got
what they-
that, what do they got, a 50-foot spot that comes right down the hill right there, goes all the way up through the airport and,
But that's what they plan on doing, going on Main Street and boring underneath the channel and feeding the others, the hill.
uh-huh. They gonna drag a water line through there for us too?
So,
Same thought was in my head.
Well, I think,
Got the boring machine there, we should push one through while he's there.
I'm of the impression that there's way more that we need to talk about all of this and get them to a meeting to describe what their intent is in and around Dollar Bay. One final footnote, if I may, and I don't mean to stifle the conversation, but the plot map that they were using was of the village of Clark dating back to the 19th century, which I found rather fascinating.
It is neat, I mean, when
It
you
is.
look at it, you look at the ball field over there and it's, that property's over there is not a nice, those are not nice parcels over there. But he's right, that Fifth Street easement is a different easement, or a different right of way. And,
I was delighted with the checkerboard property ownership around Dotto's Township, Dotto's, and the ditch, and I went, okay, we actually own where they're talking about, so I called him right away, as I said, and it stimulated another conversation, he said, nope, we're still looking at other options, we think that might look better, but I'll get back to you, and that brings me all the way back to where I started, in that it's a meeting that we need to have with them.
yeah, I'd like to, I mean, obviously you can see I'm interested in it, so.
Oh, yes, and I mentioned your name more than once.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Moving along, veterans banners, I've got a call into the VA office, trying to set up a meeting, and I'm waiting for a call back, so I can bring our issues forward and our interest in the topic, starting with, of course, Tamarack City, Osceola Township residents being part of, our banner display and retrieving them. I've got notes at the office, if people think of anything else relative to this that you think I need to bring to the Veterans Office's attention up at the airport, please give me a call. Be happy to do it. DNR and the Snowmobile Trail, second meeting still pending. I've got a call in to Zane Herkus at OHM and have not heard back from him. He called at the beginning of the week and have not heard back yet. I do have on the Blight Ordinance, had a couple of conversations with Mr. Gigak, and his work continues. He did write me a brief note that progress continues. Should be working on windows next week, and he apologized that his report didn't arrive until today, so he continues to work on it. I do have a couple of other things. One, I'm planning a meeting with Mr. Polisari about the white goods over by his storage area on the corner near Horner, leading towards Upper and Lower Point Mills Road. Our most recent conversation took place this afternoon, and he has people going over there before the weekend. That's his intent, to start moving that stuff out of there. We're also going to be talking about junk cars. And that's something that I would like to add to our agenda generally when we talk about budgets, because he is willing to, at least from a previous conversation, offer certain services at little or no cost to us. And got some ideas around a junk car moratorium. Talked with the road commission about issues up, for example, on Store Street, where there are a number of broken down vehicles in and around a property that I mentioned once before, but they're now parked on the side of the road and remain there as of my last visit a couple of days ago.
I
And
mean, I've had several people, when I'm golfing, come up to me and say
Yeah.
something to me about that property, so
Yeah.
I mean,
It's terrible. I was through it just 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've met with the owner, I've talked with him about it, but
there's
we've
some
gotta get
unhappy
this,
people up there
we
about that.
gotta get that stuff out of there, he knows it, and with winter coming on, we've got parking issues coming up, relative to our switch to winter parking, which from the road commission standpoint begins November first. So parking on the sidewalk will be permitted, but they gotta be out of the right of way, and I intend to knock on the door up in, Store Street again and say, something's gotta happen here. You can't leave them there, you gotta start getting rid of them. But I've got some ideas that I'll bring up during our budget meeting about incentives and what have you, to get junk cars out of the township. Be talking with Tim about that. Road commission update very quickly, I've made several references to it, we've already talked about Elm Street, there was some patching done on Dogwood, just past the intersection with Main, down about a block, that patching was excess blacktop from the Elm Street project, and they spread it out over there to cover some holes.
It looks good.
It
I
does.
was wondering what happened there,
Yeah.
you know, but, I knew that, obviously, that section right across from Richie's, is that the one we're talking about?
Actually down Dogwood, about halfway to the intersection.
Well,
with,
There's
what is it,
a
Third?
section right at Richie's there too,
The next corner they did too.
they did the next one or two,
Yeah, they're doing
That
some,
would be Third Street.
so they just had some extra stuff and they smeared it all around.
they bring it out there, and, we've actually had residents stop in and congratulate us on having raised it one day and having it happen the next day, and to be blunt, I had no idea.
Nothing to do with it.
No, I.
Can't even take credit for
It was,
this.
it was on my list, and I owned up to it and said, it's the road commission getting ahead of my conversation with John Sema. And she said, I thought you worked a miracle. I said, nope, I didn't even know what happened. So, and it also has taken place here, up on Junction and, what is it, Migdaloid, a conglomerate up on the top of Tamarack Hill, where they're working on that little side street, the hill. They've spread some down Junction, Road from the intersection up on top of, up on Tamarack Hill as well, left over from the first, layer of blacktop, shoulder still need to be worked off. The delay right now is weather related for a lot of their work.
The golf course one?
I talked specifically about the golf course and finishing up Tamarack City, and he said, we're waiting for the weather to get a little bit warmer and drier. He said, we can't put the blacktop down on
Good luck with that.
golf course,
No,
it's
we were
supposed to
having
be
pretty
nice
darn
tomorrow.
good weather.
And, they're hopeful of having everything done by the end of the month. But they need, dry weather to put the second coat on Store Street, up in the 4th precinct, the 600 feet, because of the heavy equipment that's up there, using that road, they're putting a double layer down, and they need it bone dry, according to John Sema, for that second layer on the blacktop. Not so much by golf course, he said we can put it down on our road bed if it's a little damp, but, not when we're putting blacktop on blacktop, that was his explanation. So, but they hope to have both of those done. One last thing I asked about, there is work done by the post office and some blacktop into the right-of-way that moved into, in essence, what looks like the parking area. That was done intentionally by the road commission for pitch, for water to run off of there and not settle. I asked John about that. I did ask him when the bills would be available for the work done. He said probably by the end of the month, early November at the latest. He did bring up, what is it, Cedar by the post office, those 200 feet for all the work done there. The first estimate, for cost is coming in under the bid, or under the offer, so we may have a few dollars left there. He said, I can't guarantee that that's always gonna be the case, and there's some might run over, but, you know,
This means the sooner we can go to the next one.
that's what I told him. I said, we're already lining up projects. He says, well, we work very well with Osceola Township, I'm paraphrasing, and I thanked him for their effort, and he's grateful for the partnership, so. I think we've
They
got
had a
something.
bill and they shut down.
They're done? Are they pulling the plant up there, or
No,
they're just shutting it down for the winter?
They just shut it down for the winter. They're getting, blacktop
So
from
where are they getting
Berga
it from?
from Baco,
I'll go down
Like
in
trucking it?
Covington and Barriga.
from Berga.
Yeah, that's same thing I heard, that Dolan may not be running anymore, but there's blacktop in Berrigan County that they're getting. Let's see, I think I've covered all of that, I mentioned the logging truck earlier. I did call, Tory Webben to let him know that the board declined his request for an easement at the sand pit. We had a nice conversation, I explained about some of our development that we did not want to, do anything that might impact it. We might revisit it down the road, but right now, and he was very understanding, thanked, the township for its consideration and the call back as to status. But, you know, and then the last
Thanks,
one.
Mark.
The last one I got is something that John Paul Pedala is taking care of on our behalf. Gotten a number of calls and emails from Brian Miller at FEMA relative to a report that needs a signature that's due for a meeting that took place, approval last year. I think it was probably something on Sixth Street that they finished up. That was part of the FEMA project in Tamarack City. But it was simply a report. He's relatively new to the project. I talked to John Paul very early this morning about this. He said, get in touch with him and refer him to me. So I brought a copy of the email that he'd sent me about the need for a signature, brought it to John Paul. When Brian called me back, I referred him to John Paul, and I'm assuming it's getting taken care of, so. That's pretty much what I've got. Any questions? Thank you very much for the discussion during the report. Unfinished business. Travis Engineering Project update, nothing. We do have something under item B, UP Engineering, Mason Sewer. Tracy, what do we got here?
Resolution, this needs to be,
This a resolution for payment?
yeah. Did you guys wanna look at this? I don't think I put these in the packet. Wanna pass-
Something
there's
we can
one
get up then
extra
on the
one.
website then,
Yeah.
later?
Yeah,
I'm assuming this was Jim's email from last week or whatever.
Yeah, I think it is.
it's for an outstanding invoice and for a township reimbursement,
And the total is?
242.25. I was looking for that, I don't
Is it on
see
the
it.
cover page?
14th,
Request 14?
yeah.
That was
Did
paid.
anybody get a look at it? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to pay UP Engineering total sum, or approve the draw request?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Ms. Gardner moves, is there support for the motion?
I'll
To
support.
approve the resolution. Ms. Houle, is there any further discussion on the motion to approve the resolution for the draw request? Hearing none, a roll call vote is in order.
Ms. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Janke,
Abstain.
Mr. Wareham,
Yes.
Mr. Halkola,
Yes,
and yes.
thank you. Next item, under unfinished business is the Mason Sewer Mdot leases. Did bring the leases, again, with me, they're in the folder here in front of Tracy. The material had gone out previously on a couple of occasions. We still have not approved these leases for the water and sewer lines under the railroad bed between Woodside and Mason. They are 5-year leases. We did receive in previous packets our attorney, Mr. Greeley's, opinion, and did indicate that we are no longer, required, from the MDOT standpoint to give assurances around liability. I'm paraphrasing, they would expect us to pass on those expectations to anybody we contract with for maintenance and or other work on the right of way that we would be expected to do as part of the lease agreement.
$2 million liability on it?
I think there's, yes, I believe it is, there's liability either 1 million per or 2 million per. And I have not,
It's $2 million per year, isn't it?
Did we talk with our insurance companies on this at all, or?
not in recent days, but in the distant past about liability when these first came up.
Is it gonna be extra?
My recollection was that the conversation didn't end up talking about numbers or costs. It was alerting them to the fact that there would.
I mean, I still struggle with the fact that we have to pay to do a water line in the Mdot right away, but we have an Mdot water line right in M26 right away. Are we paying for that?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, they're both owned by Mdot. Why do we gotta pay for one and not the other? I just, it makes no dang sense to me, and I'll never make sense to me.
These are currently tabled. We would have to, if I recall correctly, take
I
them
don't
off
know
the
why we
table to
have
vote on them.
liability on it.
One thing that could happen, if we choose to delay action until November, is we could follow up with our insurance company to get quotes on what the cost would be for each lease.
I think we need to know, I mean, that $2 million is gonna be a chunk.
I know when we deal with it from the, you know, those kinds of things from the engineering standpoint, I mean, you gotta carry special insurance to cover some of that stuff.
With the board's understanding, I will.
It's still on the table, we're not taking it off, right?
Ms. Van Halsted, we need quotes from our insurance company as to the cost of the liability insurance before we will further consider the leases, and we don't have the information right now. But we'll have it before our November meeting, ideally before our budget meetings at the end of the month, or whenever we hold them. That acceptable? Aaron, you look like you've got.
I'm just thinking, my understanding of, those Mdot right-of-ways and all right-of-ways is that they're required to allow us to utilize those for utilities. And I'm just really struggling with this, and I guess if our lawyer says that there's no other way, I'm questioning, just still questioning this.
Well, we'll continue to dig. I've been in a lot of dusty boxes over the last several months, but haven't found anything on point yet. And as our former supervisor, Mr. Karpiak, indicated, there may not be anything in writing.
Is there any other township, do they have some examples of other townships that this is happening to? Or are we like some kind of special group that gets this wonderful treatment?
I'm going from memory, in a conversation with Pat Greeley about this, he used the term standard language. So it left me with the impression that other municipalities, townships at all, that might have a comparable or identical, similar to identical lease agreement. And that term was also used by Ms. Van Halls in conversations. If there's no motion to take it off the table, the discussion is just generally around the topic.
Yeah.
And we'll follow up with the insurance company and get quotes before our budget meeting, ideally, certainly before the November meeting, and I'll alert her to that we're waiting on quotes at cost relative to the liability insurance. Okay.
Is there any chance you could call, like, talk to the city of Holton too and see if they're paying for their the utilities that they have in their right of way down on the waterfront?
I can certainly make a call.
I mean, they have there's the rear right of way that used to run down by the waterfront. I'm fairly certain, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's utilities underneath that. And I'd be interested to know if they've been forced to, it goes all the way out through past Tech.
Goes all the way out to the sands, there's gotta be utilities underneath it.
You know, so I'm questioning, I mean, are they paying?
Well, we'll
And if
find
they
out.
aren't, how do they get out of it, you know?
Well, that would be the second question. If they say we're not paying, they'll say, would you send us? Yeah, thank you.
They paved those old railroad tracks, it's an old bike track.
Yeah, they pretty much told them not where to go on some of that
Yeah,
stuff,
I think so.
so.
We'll ask.
I'm just thinking outside of the box here a little right now.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Moving on. Snowmobile Trail update, give you what I've got, waiting on a call from Zane as to the next meeting. My understanding, however, one footnote is that money for the projected / anticipated work is in this fiscal year state budget.
I mean, it was on the radio and stuff that some of this stuff has been approved,
Yeah.
so
It is in
I don't know
the
where that's gonna go from there, but.
Well, we're still hung up on issues around ownership of the railroad grade, where the old trail could run
Yeah.
up behind the foundation in Tamarack City, and cost of purchase and desire that they have to have the township own that.
Which is fine with me.
Yeah, I think that would assist us in the conversation about, lease agreements between.
Seems like that's a
Woodside and
nice
Mason.
lever.
Yeah,
We got some property we're gonna have that you're gonna wanna be a part of.
I was thinking of comparable rates and, well, a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Thank you. New business, ice rink boards. We have received, based on criteria in large part developed by Mr. Janke, that is a handout for tonight. And please note, Ms. Gardner in the school, if we could get this material posted as well on our website, at the earliest convenience as part of the board packet. Thank you. We have two offers. The TWE offer came in as an invoice. There's a little cover on top of it indicating that they inadvertently put their offer in as an invoice for services rendered rather than a bid. And please interpret that figure as a bid. We thought there was an attachment, but when we attempted to open up things, there was nothing there, so.
I'm assuming he's saying he's gonna do exactly like we're putting it here, but
I'm assuming that, but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't, and,
there's a significant difference in the price for an item that's pretty well defined at this point. That concerns me a little bit.
$15,000 difference is pretty well.
and the initial offer prior to that came in from Webben was north of 28,000. And then the initial offer from TWE was in the 15.5 range.
So my next question, and I know I alluded to this to you before, but what would it, we're gonna get 25 from the insurance company?
That I will be calling on if we are going forward, even if we don't pull the trigger on a company tonight, but save that for,
I mean, we can end up doing a lot of extras between 36 and 21 if he forgot something in his bid or something like that, you know, there's one thing that I can say about that. And two, we wanna, after talking with Don a little bit here, and I have talked to some other people since our conversation, that maybe worth asking for an upgrade, what an upgrade to the 3/4 plywood instead of the 1/2-inch plywood would be.
May I make a suggestion then on that point, is that rather than decide this evening, since we're holding a
I
budget.
mean, we can
meeting,
still take him.
Well, I'm not suggesting either, I'm offering an idea for consideration, that is to get offers from the firms relative to upgrading the wood to 3/4 inch and what it would cost. We also had an email, from TWE indicating that they may not be able to complete the project this winter.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, but I had a subsequent conversation with him, just answering his questions, and suggested he put an offer in anyway, with detail. The lack of detail, is evident when you compare it to the webinar offer.
Correct, it's really hard to judge, you know, I mean, we have to assume then that he's gonna build it exactly how we said with, you know.
You have the information before you, what is the board's pleasure?
I don't know if you can wait another, next meeting to decide that.
I know, it's already October.
It's already October.
Well, we do have a budget meeting we'd like to hold between now and the end of the month.
We could put this on that agenda and
That's
it can be
what
a
I
part
was
of it.
thinking. And we could ask
As
for
long as they can
updated
get the bids
information on
back
3/4
in.
inch.
A little bit more detail from this one would be nice.
So we would defer the decision to the budget meeting to be held between now and the end of the month. Is that acceptable? And we would
Okay.
seek additional information from them, specifications and timelines from.
My suspicion is it's gonna be a number like $4,000 or something like that, it'll be about the same from both of them, you know, I mean, that's, for that upgrade, the number will be relatively the same to go from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch plywood, it's just a material cost almost at that point, so.
We would still like them up before the holiday season.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, this price is pretty good, the other option would be to check on if you wanted to go with, treated plywood instead of regular.
Well, if you have ideas for us.
I'm
to
just throwing
share-
this out,
No,
I'm
no,
just throwing this
I-
out here, this is discussion right now, we're not gonna vote on anything, so. I don't know if the board cares about that or not, I know Don just said to me, if we're gonna do this, we should do it right.
So we wanna ask for 3/4 inch treated plywood.
3/4, then ask separately for 3/4 treated,
Okay.
those will be two different prices.
Prices, all right.
And we're painting these up, so they'll last a while, but the bottoms will still be in the water.
Still exposed.
They'll still be in the water for a good chunk, you know, obviously it's fine when it's frozen, but, come spring, it's gonna be in the water.
You could also tar the bottom of those a little bit.
Maybe there's some other better, we could even talk to him about it, maybe there's some other better bottom treatment we could do. I got the bottom plate is treated, but the bottom of the plywood definitely would be,
Yeah.
you know what happens to plywood, it sits in the water.
Expands and it's a mess.
Okay, so 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch treated, and we will, our plan is to make a decision at our budget meeting,
Okay,
okay? All right, and we'll get in contact with them quickly, I'll let them know. But we, if I may, one footnote, our expectation is still that these boards will be up and in place before the holiday season in December.
yeah, I mean, that would, obviously, we would like that, if we could, if you get past that, you're not gonna get them they're not gonna be erected,
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
I would think that would
We'd
be
have
tough.
to go with what we did last year.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of complaints from me, I heard people
Was there?
complaining, yeah.
They still used it though.
They did, I'm not saying they didn't use it, it's just,
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Next item is Elm Street Restoration Plan. This is the plan tabled relative to the property owners. And if I may offer, based on our last conversation, the same recommendation is that we, if we choose to take it off the table, we would have the latitude, I believe, to do it at our special meeting, and we're working the budget. And it is a meeting in which we can make decisions, so we could look at that issue, look at costs, because I know that some of the property owners, at least from my perspective, have done some of the restorative work already and cleaned things up.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Could you
I'm sorry,
speak a
the-
little louder?
I apologize, we're talking about the proposed restoration plan for property on Elm Street that we tabled at our last meeting, and just offering comment that some homeowners have already done some work that might alter considerably the cost for going in to do work, should we choose to do it, et cetera. And then we
I
will
rode
get-
through, and I was specifically looking at two things, obviously, I already complained about one of them. And the second one, I was looking at yards, and, I saw one that was kind of crummy. Other than that, I didn't really see, it didn't really look that bad, you know, so I don't know, it's just my, this is what I'm
I haven't been through this since they paved it. So I'd like to take a look through it.
I do have one call to make to one resident on Elm Street that is expecting some type of restorative action to take place.
It's through there when
I mean, let me ask you this, is that too much to ask for our maintenance, the guy to go over there and try to do something? He can rake and plant some grass, is that
I
something
can certainly
ridiculous?
mention it to him and have that information available for the next meeting.
You go over there, put some topsoil down and rake it up a little bit and plant some seed and then put some mulch down and. I'm just, I don't know what kind of shape we're talking here, you know, so I'm just,
I'll ask him the question, because he came in today saying, have you got other projects for me? So,
I don't wanna set that precedent.
that's,
I'm afraid to do that. They're gonna see our maintenance guy fixing their yards and I'm afraid.
I'm looking for a happy medium here if I can find one.
Realize what it's cost us for those lines?
Yeah, and the other question that we had tabled this originally for, and I don't know if you had a chance to look into those grants at all, is there
The money,
money coming, obviously, part of the money that's earmarked for us is, its main purpose, is water, sewer, unless you have some other extenuating circumstances. know, maybe it heads towards some of this stuff. I know paving is absolutely out, it's definitely out. Or that's the-
Footnote, and I may have shared
Even if
this.
you do water and sewer work, the paving part is out, you can't do any of that restoration work, but I don't know about like grass restoration work, or if it has to be attributed directly to the pipes, I'm not sure how that would,
What are you talking about? What money?
that,
Cold release.
Oh, the
statement.
cold.
yeah, what's the, there's an acronym for it.
ARPA. There's yeah.
I mean, there's stuff
Like
I,
goosenecks was specifically included in the.
yeah, well, there's the COVID money, and then is that the grant that you were talking about, or you were talking about a separate one?
That was something separate that the governor was proposing,
Yeah,
has not been approved, so.
it hasn't been.
We're not sure where that is yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find out. It's tabled, we can leave it there till we go to our budget meeting again, and look at this as a possible action item. One footnote, if I may, one household had part of a sidewalk, damaged on the property. That was repaired by Webben.
Yeah.
Not as part of our cost, but on their initiative and on their resources.
Sure.
So that's been taken care of, and the homeowner has mentioned considerable satisfaction with the front and with the sidewalk being repaired in general conversations, so. Moving on,
Okay.
and we will be discussing this again at our budget meeting. The SEMCO request, I've already raised that one, and I'm giving status. Dreber's request about the property split in Tamarack City was also tabled. We have forwarded material following our protocols to the assessor for a report and recommendation as to how we might proceed. I did call Greg today and shared that with him, and he said, thank you, I appreciate that. I said, we tabled it so we could take a hard look at it. We're waiting to get a recommendation from our assessor. In a brief conversation with her about issues like that, she did state, or certainly imply in the conversation, that we had certain latitudes with things like this. We could approve it with a number of conditions affixed to it relative to development, whatever. So I think waiting for her recommendation to come back, which will certainly be here before the next meeting in November, he seemed more than satisfied by that. And, you know, in effect, passed on a thank you for us to at least be willing to consider it further. I'm not suggesting any action on this item tonight. We'll see what our assessor has to say. Budget amendment meeting, I've made constant reference to that, previous discussions. I've had a chance to share thoughts about it. You've shared thoughts back with me individually over the last few days. I'd like to schedule a meeting of the township board to deal almost exclusively with our budgets, with our resources, with amendments, and the items necessary that we've discussed this evening. Is there a good date between now and, say, the end of the first week of November that would work for everybody? A good night. And figuring the meeting would last probably in the neighborhood of 90 minutes at a minimum.
Don't look at me.
Trace, I'm looking at you no, there's no good dates.
Is there
The
another-
27th is out.
The 27th is out. I apologize, the 27th is out.
We're doing this in the evening, you said?
Yeah. No. Well, I don't know about, I'd certainly be amenable to a Saturday, late morning,
no,
early
no.
afternoon meeting, but I don't know that that would,
No.
and as we approach the
We used to do that on
holiday
Saturdays, and it
season,
was horrible.
No.
I don't wanna get in, I think this is something that we definitely would need to do prior to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is the 10th of November.
My evenings are free, just my Tuesdays and Thursday days are not available.
The days,
Days,
evenings,
evenings are fine.
like especially after 8 o'clock.
No.
If we started at 5 or 5:30, would that be acceptable? Is there a date that would work for everyone?
What date?
Well, whatever day would work between now and the end of the first week in November.
I mean, should we just get this out of the way? How about like the 18th or something like that?
Would that give us enough prep time to get everything ready? The 18th?
It's like next week. That's Monday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no?
What do we
Could be tough.
what do we need to do?
Well, we gotta boil every budget down, and we've gotta make sure that we've got from my standpoint, a
Okay,
worksheet
no.
that has all of our revenues across,
We
that
need more
shows
time.
fund
So I
balances
think
and
you
everything.
guys need to definitely, how much time do you need?
2 weeks?
Year?
How about 2 weeks? How about we do something the week of the 1st of November?
Okay.
That's better.
We could meet at 6, go from 6 to 8. Is there a night that would work that's far enough from deer season? The only other meeting we would have done would be the 3rd, which is Tamarack City Water.
I could do this second would be okay,
Second
Or the
would work for
4th.
me.
Tuesday or Thursday.
Fine.
It's a Tuesday, the 2nd of November.
Yeah,
I'll
I
make
can do
it-
the 4th.
So there's nothing, we have no election stuff, right?
No.
No,
So we're good there, cause that would be the second.
okay. Don, would that work for you?
Second or the fourth look like they work right now, yes.
Okay, why don't we schedule the meeting at this moment for Tuesday, the 2nd of November at 5:30, 6 PM at the Township Hall?
5 o'clock with pizza.
Ooh, I'll tell, thank you.
Yes.
And this meeting is open to the public,
What did she say?
5
And-
o'clock with pizza.
5 o'clock would be.
Which Tuesday?
2nd of November. Oh, I got the pizza.
Okay.
All I need to know is what kind, from Quincy's. Been gracious enough to provide
Surprise
me
me.
with resources to do it, I have perfect. I got dinner,
Alright,
Budget meeting,
5 PM?
5 PM.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I'll be practiced 15 minutes early.
5:30.
Okay, 5:30, thank you. Can everybody meet at 5:30, then I can come straight from
Yeah.
the school?
Yep.
Please call in your favorite pizza from Quincy's.
Pizza.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
we're thinking 90 minutes on this, eh?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
I think so too.
I put
Especially,
2
especially
hours.
with me around here.
I'll just keep
11
eating your
to
pizza so you
21.
can't talk.
At
Here, have a
5:30
piece of pizza and you just shove it in my mouth.
PM.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you very much. We've got a date and a time, and as all meetings of the board are, this is open to the public. If people would like to attend, the meeting will start at 5:30 on Tuesday, the 2nd of November. We will post it in the usual places so people know, and it will be up on the website, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is gonna be a meeting then, not a work session, hey?
It's a work session / meeting where we're gonna go over everything and make decisions. So we're-
Cause I think there is a little different rules between a work session and a meeting. I'm
We'll
not
make sure, we'll define it appropriately, we'll go into the rules to make sure.
Okay.
Is this the budget amendments?
These will be the
I don't
working
think
on the
you have to have
amendments,
public
yeah.
comment for a work session.
And we'll make sure that, you know, it's properly
Sounds familiar,
identified
something, but I'm not
relative to
sure.
the rules around work sessions, meetings at all. Because if it's decision.
Typically, I think our budget is a work session, which I'm not sure you have to have public comment and stuff, I'm not sure, there's some rules to that, so you just gotta make sure, I mean, I'm fine with it being a meeting, but we're definitely not gonna be, it's gonna be more, you know, work environment, calculators out
Right.
type of thing, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but it is,
My phone, okay.
Can I call in my order for the pizza too?
taking the comment in a little out of order here, since public comment has not begun, we'll have a variety. If people planning on attending have a preference, please don't hesitate to call.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
There'll be none of that.
See if they have a gluten-free crust.
One small one then.
You know.
Are we all set?
Yep.
Okay. Audit, everybody has their copy. Secretary's position description. You have a, is that an acceptable position, because we have been defining it as a draft, because the board has not approved it. And credit for this belongs to Christa, Christina, and Tracy. way we
I'm
stamp
looking at
draft on
content
it.
right now.
It took a long time.
It's harder than you think, looking at this kind of stuff.
Yeah, what do you do in a day? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Can I make a suggestion on this? I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but.
Oh, sure, it's a draft.
We need a FOIA person.
Oh, yeah.
We need a FOIA,
We need to
we
definitely,
need to hire a FOIA person. So I don't know if that should be like put into this or we need someone.
I mean, I agree, I mean, that whole FOIA conversation needs to come up.
Yes.
I mean, it has to be
So I don't know
happening.
if this is the time, but.
I mean, I think that's an appropriate thing, because we need to be able to, as a part of the FOIA requests, you need to be able to identify the person that's going to be filling the request, because the charges for those requests are directly attributed to that person. So, I don't know, has she been doing them, who's doing the FOIA stuff right now? Is it just whoever gets the request right now, or what? You are?
It's sort of
Pretty much,
group
kind of a
activity right
group
now.
activity and we haven't been
I mean,
billing.
technically, those FOIA requests, you know, that person's time should be covered by the person that's doing the
According
request.
to FOIA though, you have to bill at the person that makes the least amount of money, their hourly.
Which would still be that person, would it not?
Well, it would be the secretary, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's explore that. We can always
I don't
add
think that's,
additional
I think it should be on here,
No,
whether she does it now or not, but.
no, and we're not billing for FOIA
The-
right now.
Then what
but
we're
we
talking
need to.
about is
But we need
adding
to be doing
a
that.
FOIA contact person, or whatever, as
I mean, we need to,
part of
put-
the job description.
we need to put the FOIA forms up on the website if they're not already,
They're not.
you know, so that any formal requests from now on need to
That's what we're
be
working on.
done with a formal form
Mhm.
to a person that they takes, yeah, I mean, if it's the secretary, that's fine. And then they would have to, then they would have upfront charges on what those costs would be.
Yeah, if we're moving this position more into adding
Adding
more
time.
Secretarial.
secretarial duties. If
Instead of
we're
just
not
water
going
clerk.
in that direction, then.
Yeah, and we're
No,
already,
but-
excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's drifting, because I think we need to understand that, I'm not sure 9 hours a week or 12 hours a week or whatever it is attracting anybody.
No.
At
We're
this
talking
point.
about an office
And I don't
manager
know if there's
position.
enough time
that
for all
would
this
be
crap.
Probably closer to 20
It's not.
hours a week.
It's not.
Sure, it's
Right,
not.
yeah, so it's not enough for.
You might have to.
And I would say things are falling behind, you know.
20 hour a week person you might have to hire.
Yeah.
At least.
Frankly, that's
Oh,
what
at
we're looking
least.
at.
At least.
So,
The scope of everything that has to be done in a given week is, we're not.
I'm
allotted
perfectly
the
fine
time.
with that, we're just gonna have to look at that, and we're gonna have to arrange our budget in such a fashion that we're gonna have to deal with this.
Mhm. Agreed.
It will be part of the agenda on the second, to look at that position, and all the positions will
So
be identified as well.
we weren't gonna vote on this.
Well,
then.
the intent was, we need something, we can leave it in draft form right now, there's nothing wrong with that. We are going to ultimately hire someone, and the draft is out there for people to review. What we are going to, as part of our process of improving our administrative protocols inside the office, we need job descriptions. This is a start point
Mhm.
for someone to sit behind the counter and identifying multiple responsibilities that they currently do on our behalf.
What about revenue from the sewer, you know, remember we were talking about some of that stuff, you
All
know?
of that, I've got all those notes, that's all gonna be part of our discussion.
It's also
I
on
mean,
the
we can
sewer.
add,
a no benefits position,
Yeah.
Right,
might be a little
Right.
better if you got some.
does he get the 401K that the rest of us get, or at least, or nothing?
As elected officials at this moment. Do we wanna continue to offer feedback on this? We don't have to take action on it tonight, but it is out there.
I think it's
as-
pretty important, we're trying to hire somebody here,
We are, and it is
or else
posted as a draft.
we're trying to steal her back.
Well, what's the board's pleasure?
I cut you off, but what are you thinking here, where do you wanna go with this?
Well, if, I think right now, to discuss the position description, job description further, I think we need a motion to approve with support, and then we can discuss what needs to be added or what identify what we've already suggested be added, and then vote it up or down.
I mean, we can always, I'll cut you off again, sorry.
It's not cast in stone, if that's right.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, we can
This is
always,
a
we can
fluid-
always adjust this
Absolutely.
anytime we want. So, I mean, this is a good starting point, and I'm perfectly fine with what I'm looking at here, I don't see anything on here that's not one of her duties,
Yep.
you know? So, and to say that this is all, I think there's probably more.
Well, there is a clause in there, I believe, that says
You know,
other duties
so, I
as
mean, I'm
assigned.
looking at this, and I think this is,
There's other
I just
duties that I
realized
signed,
something that's
yeah.
not
So,
on here.
with that caveat, do I have a motion to approve the draft job description as presented, understanding that there are other duties as assigned as part of this, and we can add at the board's discretion to this position? So, if we accept it right now, then we have an approved job description to share with people who may be applying.
yeah, that's.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
accept.
second that.
Mr. Ware moves the acceptance of the job description, Mr. Janke supports the motion. Is there further discussion on the motion to accept the job description and utilize it going forward?
The only thing that I can say here is I agree with them right out of the gate, I don't think this is enough time. 9 to 12, 3 days a week,
Agreed.
you know, I mean, that's what, 9 hours?
Well, it used to be 5 days a week when the township
Correct. When
office
we
was open.
offer.
And it used to also offer like paid holidays off, you know, like the days
Yeah,
that
the
were
problem with
closed,
that
stuff
is
like
we
that.
gotta do that when we.
We are in
The
a
hard part-
discussion phase right now.
Yeah, the hard part about some of that is the, you know, how we're gonna do that, we gotta do that on an hourly basis then, based on hours, and then we have to offer that to the maintenance guy too. There was problems with that, that's why
Yeah.
that went away.
Right.
You know, Bob, too, you know, I mean, so there's paid vacation when you're only working 3 days a week, I'm not, you know,
Right.
I struggle, at 3 days a week for 3 hours, it's tough to say, okay, I'm taking Wednesday off because I get a day off, and then I take my 3 hours, you know,
Mhm.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is there a suggestion from any member of the board to change the hours to?
Yeah, that's where I'm
range?
going, that's where I'm going with this, is that I don't see in here that there's an hours, and I think we need to commit to something like 20 hours a week or something like that.
Would it be more suitable to identify a range of hours between, say, 9 and 15 weekly, or 12 and 20 weekly, or something like that?
20 to 30.
You know, I'm sorry?
20 to 30?
Well, what we're doing
Does
is.
she work
we're-
extra when we have to right now as it
Yeah.
is, or?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. I mean, she's getting paid for
there
that.
every
Yes, she
evening.
does.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
She goes in the
I mean,
evenings.
it's absolutely a minimum, bare minimum 12-hour week job, there's no way
Why-
Yeah.
why
you're
don't
getting
we
anything
just-
done
we
in
can
that.
change
9
it,
to
right?
12 is just
We can
ain't
change,
right.
we can offer, an amendment to the
Make it
job
8 to-
description right now as part of the motion by saying change the hours to a range between
Agreed,
10 and 15 weekly,
I say 10 and 20.
10 and 20.
20 is better, yeah.
And we have a suggested amendment to the job description to change the hours to a range between 10 and 20 weekly. Is that acceptable
Is
to
it on
Mr.
here?
Ware making the
It's
motion?
nowhere on here, so that's,
I mean, eight
It's
to
not
12, 5 days a week is 20 hours.
Mr.
and I'm
Janke, is
perfectly
that-
fine with, saying, you know what? You can, maybe that's what we have to do, you can go in on a Thursday and Friday, but I think there's some flexibility here that I'm fine with having some flexibility of when that can be. As long as you cover these immediate hours of 9 to 12 or something like that, and I mean, even if she had to take, if she wasn't able to be there for one of those days, as long as I can understand that, but we need the hours still.
Mhm.
You still need the hours.
There's been a friendly amendment to the job description to change the hours
I
identified
suspect it's
to
probably
a
more than
range
this, but
between 10 and 20
You
hours.
start adding the
Well-
FOIA stuff in here and all this other stuff we're talking about, I suspect it's gonna be more.
I still think at minimum it has to be 12, there's no way.
Yeah,
That is
12,
not enough.
I'm good
All
with
right,
12,
then
put
we're
12,
doing 12 to 20 as.
12 to
range.
20.
Other stuff to be added as needed, but right now I'm looking for job description we can post. We will not put hours, 3 hours a day, but instead a range between 12 and 20 hours weekly. With the expectation that they would work 9 to 12, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at a minimum.
I
Those set
added,
hours.
do we
Please.
need to okay, I put, purchasing of all office supplies. That was something,
Yeah.
Fran, I missed when we did that, that's
Okay, so we're
important.
adding the ordering of office supplies. Also is a friendly amendment.
So then, she's basically maintaining office,
Oh, yeah?
She's
Running the
In
whole
essence, an
place.
office manager.
Yeah,
Yes.
office manager.
there's more to it than just
Right.
entering the
Absolutely.
bills here.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, much
Oh,
more.
God, yeah.
So,
Is everybody comfortable with the friendly amendments?
Yes.
mhm.
So we noted the friendly amendments?
Well,
We'll put them
I'm
together.
trying, yeah.
We have a motion to approve the job description with the friendly amendments. Mr. Worm?
Yes.
Mr. Janke, you support that?
Yep.
Any additional discussion on the proposed job description? Now, with the friendly amendments, part of that. We're posting as the job description, making it available to applicants. We set for a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion with the friendly amendments? The job description of office manager / secretary et al. for Osceola Township, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have a job description for our office manager, secretary et al. position.
Friendly.
Friendly.
I am going to put that in there.
We have come to the end of the agenda. Are there any other items that the board feels we need to discuss tonight before I ask for public comment one more time?
Lake
Sorry.
Street.
What about Lake Street?
Oh, I'm sorry, H. I apologize, I went right past that.
Oh,
I stand corrected, we have one more item, H, on our agenda, Lake Street.
Yeah, we see how it is, hey
Thank you.
Bob, we
Yeah.
see how it is.
Okay, I mean, it might sound a little nitpicky, but, on Lake Street, there's a resident there that has a sign on the post that says, no parking at any time. Well, that's the right of way, that's the street. It happened at, Borson, when the Borson house was there, he put signs up on the edge of the road, and he actually, somebody went to the school, went into the school for something, and he called the wrecker, and the wrecker came, with the car out, and went uptown with it somewhere. Well, he ended up bringing that car back, because the street right away is where you park. You know, and another example I can give you, this was many years ago, I was going to the Lutheran church, I don't remember, it was a funeral or whatever, and I parked in front of a house right there on the corner, a lady came out screaming at me that I couldn't park there. I said, well, call a cop, I'm going to church. So I went to church. The car was okay.
I believe as long as you're not blocking their residence driveway or entrance, I don't think there's much that anybody can do about it.
no,
But that sign should come down.
well, it's on a utility pole.
You know what, and I wanna say that the thing about that too is 4th of July, when the parade starts by the school and there was always older people that parked on that edge of the road, so people didn't have to stand. You know, they could watch the parade in their vehicles. And,
Is this over by Leclerc's?
Yep,
Mhm.
right next door.
Oh, I know what
Yeah,
we're talking about
yes.
now. Okay, I got it.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's gotta go.
Yeah, it's gotta go.
That cannot be, I think a letter needs to be
It's on a
sent.
utility
You,
pole.
they do not get to control,
Right.
The township's right away.
the
Mhm.
pole line is lot line. You know,
And it's on the utility pole, isn't it?
right,
Yeah,
right.
It's a
The
separate
sign.
issue, yeah.
yeah, it's a whole separate
Will,
issue.
is it suggested then that a letter be written from the township
I-
to the
I'd
resident
suggest
that posted the
Because this
sign?
person has been causing a lot of trouble,
Mhm.
and, they need to understand that they don't get to control that part.
Correspondence will go out early next week to the individual. If
Yeah.
that's the board's pleasure.
You need me to move on that?
I don't know that we need a motion, I think there's consensus from the board. If you'd like to make a motion, that we write a letter from him.
If you need me to, I will, otherwise.
He wants to,
I
just
I
do
don't
an
have
errand.
to, no,
Well, I'm asking, I mean, it's,
you want me to?
Yeah.
I make a motion.
we have a motion to write to the resident who has placed a no parking sign on the utility pole to ask him to take it down.
I mean, I'd love to place no parking signs over by that,
We have a motion, sir.
yes,
I'll-
I need a support.
I'll-
over
We
by
have a
that
support.
apartment.
I
Uh,
live too close.
Thank
You
you.
don't see me doing that, do you?
Aaron, please continue your thought, we have a support.
I'm not
Yeah,
supporting.
I said I'd love to put no parking over by that apartment building that I have struggled with all the time too, but you don't see me posting something on the telephone pole over there, so. That's all I'm saying, you're just not allowed to do it, can't do it.
We have a motion and support.
Who supported?
You did.
You're not supporting?
You don't do?
Yeah.
have to.
You said I support because I was trying to finish the
Oh, okay.
motion.
thought you
Okay,
said
I did.
Don, we need a support,
Too late.
she doesn't wanna go on record.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Well-
thank you. Oh my God.
So we have a motion
There's
by
not like
Mr.
a video
Janke,
in here or
supported by
anything.
Mr. Wareham,
Yes.
that a letter be written to the
Yes.
resident who has posted the no parking sign on the utility pole
On Lake Street.
on Lake Street
Yes.
in Dollar Bay.
A friendly support.
Before it gets completely out of hand, all in favor of the motion for the letter to be written to the Lake Street resident, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries, a letter will go out next week, I'll draft one over the weekend. Thank you for the reminder, my apologies for missing that, I have to keep my glasses on when I'm my way through the agenda, cause what I wrote down just looks like squiggly lines. My apologies. We've now reached the end of our agenda. There's an opportunity, before a motion to adjourn, for public comment, if anyone would like to speak, around an issue or issues that they would like to bring to the board's attention. Anyone? You'll have up to 3 minutes, please identify yourself when you begin speaking. Mr. Schmidt.
Two items, Horst Schmidt. One is that I talked to the, Ron Yesney, the DNR Citizen Advisory Council in Marquette last month about our trail, and from what he said is that they're going to let out the bids, I think, next year, and they will then, they will break it up into several different contractors. That's too big a job for one contractor. And then also probably not start until 23 on the construction. I think that's what I remember hearing. So I may be off a little bit, but it's a long process, it's a big job. And so that's why I wanted to mention that to you is, when you talk to them, you find out whether or not I got the dates right. But the other thing I wanted to ask about is, the ARP money, is that going to be in the November 2nd budget amendment meeting?
You think about the stimulus money, you're asking a
Right,
question?
the American Rescue Plan.
All of the resources, if I may, comment, coming into the township will be discussed at that meeting on the 2nd.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to double check on. So, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the latitude to respond to the direct question. Anyone else that would like to address the board? You'll have up to 3 minutes. Please identify yourself. Hearing none, we'll close the second public comment section. Please note the time, Ms. Wolf. With no other business to come before the township board at tonight's meeting, a motion to adjourn is in order.
A motion.
Ms. Houle, is there support?
I'll support.
Ms. Gardner, we have a motion and support to adjourn. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.
I just want to say no one week to